Okay. Hey guys, welcome to Cupcake Comics. This is a very special edition where we're trying to focus on a specific character, and that character happens to be Spawn, created by Todd McFarlane in the year 1992. And we have a special guest who's our resident Cupcake Spawn expert. That's Mr. Sam, right from all the way from British Columbia. And so this is going to be like a Q&A. And if you're new to Spawn, you don't know how to pick Spawn, where to start Spawn, this video is going to answer all of those questions. And we'll kind of do a Q&A with Sam so that, you guys get a good idea of where to jump into Spawn. And if you already like Spawn, then well and good. Maybe you'll get something new out of it. So hey Sam, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm ready to be here. It
So
should be fun.
I wanted to show off these two Spawn issues. So this is Spawn number 67. So this is something which was gifted to me by my brother in the 1990s, and
Nice.
I've treasured them. They were bought in Toronto in a comic book store called Yesterday's Heroes. I don't know if it still exists or not, but I'm pretty curious to check them out if they still exist. So I have stored them, I've treasured them, and was my introduction to Spawn. This one and also this The Curse of Hellspawn. So this is
Right.
kind of an Elseworld Spawn tale.
Yeah,
So
it's one of the out of continuity ones.
absolutely. And I love them both. I know I just read them. These are random issues, but that was my introduction to the world of Spawn. And I kind of caught on. I haven't read every issue, but then I have tried to keep up. I've read most of the recent stuff after, issue 290 or something, because, I knew we were building up to issue 300. And yeah, and this character is like something, a big comic book import out of Canada, where we both are at the moment.
Right.
And Todd McFarlane, he created him in 1992. So he has legacy. He's got one movie. He's got an awesome HBO animated show, which everyone should watch. And we both agree to
Agreed.
that.
Yeah.
And but yeah, but what's your story like with Spawn, Sam? Where did you get into? How did you
Um.
Spawn?
So I guess I may as well start at the beginning. I have loved Spawn since elementary school, since before I knew who Spawn was. I I remember like in like like when I was like 7 or something, like third grade, fourth grade, we would be out like fucking out recess, just fucking playing as kids do, and I would always pretend to be Spawn. I don't know where I heard about him. Like I know that I didn't read comics then. I hadn't seen the show. I hadn't seen the movie. I have no idea how I knew who Spawn was. I have thought long and hard trying to remember. I still have no idea, but I knew who he was and I loved him. And I kept that love with me for essentially my whole life. But I never actually, read any Spawn until I got into comics about 2 years ago when I first got into comics. And having Spawn in the back of my head, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get some Spawn. So I got the first 4 volumes of the Origins collection, the trade paperbacks, that brought me up to about issue 25 or so. And then I collect in collected editions, and there haven't been all that many Spawn collected editions, so that's kind of where my reading stopped for a bit, um, because I just didn't have any other way to read it. But then they recently came out with these compendiums, so I'm getting caught up with these, the big, thick compendiums. They collect 50 issues each.
Those are soft covers, right? Not hard covers.
Yeah, they are soft cover compendiums. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I'm at now. I still haven't read all the issues. I've read essentially this and then some of the more the newer ones, but I do know most of the story of Spawn just because of like YouTube videos and stuff. I would watch, I don't know what channels off the top of my head, but you know how they are, like the YouTube videos where you can kind of get caught up on the majority of the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of how I got into it. I've always just loved Spawn for essentially he's just cool, but
His look is one of the most amazing looks of any comic book characters, with the red cape and
oh
the
yeah, it's my personal favorite look for any comic book character ever, for sure.
totally agree. Totally agree on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's good that you didn't read each and every single issue. Like you're not
No.
there from issue one, and a lot of people, I think these collected editions are a kind of a good entry point for people to start in,
Right,
you
for sure.
to dive in and all.
Yeah.
So couple of Q&A questions which we have from other cupcakes, Cupcake Ben, and and just our community.
Sure.
What are some of your favorite Spawn storylines to begin with?
Um, so the Billy Kincaid one, I think it's like the first storyline is always going to be one of my favorites. Billy Kincaid is if you've read it, I seriously think it is like the first Spawn story. He shows up like almost immediately. He's like a really fucked up dude. Like he's fucking like he's a child rapist. He's child killer, bunch of fucked up shit. Like this guy is like just horrible. And then fuck, I want to see if I can find it.
But Spawn has this whole like, kind of Batman, kind of Ghost Rider stuff going on for him. So there's that whole vengeance thing to him. So he punishes all these criminals.
Yeah, he's a lot like the Punisher too, but like
Yeah,
worse almost.
absolutely.
Fuck, I can't find it. But if you've read it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. At the end of this storyline, he he kills Billy Kincaid. Spawn kills him, and he leaves him in the office of the detectives who were hunting him, and he's strung up like with chains,
The
bloody and
detectives being
naked.
Sam and Twitch, right?
Hmm?
The detectives being Sam
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Twitch.
This detectives are Sam and Twitch. Yeah, and he's like chained up, bloody and like naked, has a popsicle stick in his mouth because he's an ice cream man as well.
Right.
And then there's like just a fucking note that's like stabbed into his chest, and it's written by Spawn, of course, and it says, "Boys screamed and girls screamed, so I made him scream and scream and scream," and like kind of trails off, and it's just fucking so brutal and
So right off the
savage.
bat, Spawn is not for kids, right?
Oh no, definitely not. Spawn is mature content for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So that makes
So
us
that's definitely one of them. I also really liked the the anti-spawn story arc. It's also really early on in the first. It's one of the first story arcs as well. Anti-spawn is the original Redeemer. The Redeemer's a character that's going on right now, but he was the original one, and he started off as a Spawn villain. And man, he just looks so fucking cool. It's like he felt intimidating when you first read it. Like he's like, man, this guy is essentially a Spawn, but for heaven,
Mhm.
right? So it's like a very even
Spawn is a
matchup.
character. He's Al Simmons. I mean, for those who don't know, from
Yeah.
Hell, right? So he's
Yeah. So Al Simmons is I guess we can talk about the origin of Spawn, who he is and stuff. Al Simmons is Spawn. So Spawn was in life a man called Al Simmons who was a secret government operative, like essentially a one-man army type of guy. Like when before he even became Spawn, he was already like a a tactical master, like a master of all guns, all that stuff. Like honestly, Al Simmons before he even became Spawn could probably go toe to toe in a fight with the Punisher. And then he died. He got burned alive. He was betrayed by one of his friends and he got burned alive and killed. And then he went to hell and he made a deal with Malbolgia, the king of hell at that time, to essentially he would traded his soul so that he could come back and see his wife one last time. And in return, he would eventually have to lead Hell's armies as one of its generals. And that's the deal he made. Didn't go quite all that well. He was brought back 5 years later. So his wife had already moved on and was married to his best friend when he returned. And he came back without any memories. So he had to piece together his memories. Spawn is a really tragic character to me. At the end of the day, he's cool. He's badass. He is the thing that goes bump in the night, but he is a really tragic character.
right. I think that's what works for a lot of people, that it's not about him being cool, because I know McFarlane always wanted to make the coolest character.
Mm-hmm. I think he
He did
succeeded. But
artistically. Yeah, I think he succeeded. So I think, but if he didn't have that backstory, then probably not a lot of people would have related to him the way they do, because the
probably, yeah.
backstory is so grounded and so heartbreaking that you relate to the character instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like the Count of Monte Cristo. He's imprisoned, then he comes back, and then he finds out that his wife has moved on with his best friend, and it's a classic. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
classic tale. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of people, Tanner cough cough says that the story of Spawn is boring and uninteresting, and I completely disagree with that. I don't think it's the best well written story in the world or anything, but
I think it's
it's
very wordy. That's people's main problem. It's not that
yeah.
they don't like the story. So because yeah. So
I
because Todd
think
Mc
it's
Farlane is
actually
not a born writer. I think the art speaks for itself. So and
yeah.
he doesn't need so many words. All credit to him. But yeah, I think the only thing people have the problem with is the words, because the length of the words too wordy, and
Yeah,
sometimes repeating
at
itself.
the start of it, that is definitely true. Yeah, I don't mind as much, but that also gets better over time. I don't think that the modern Spawn is any more wordy than
Oh no.
anything coming out from Marvel or DC or anything like that. I think.
Modern Spawn is like action, fast paced. The characters are pretty well defined, and it's a pretty fast read. Like a
Yeah,
single issue, you can read probably in like 15-20 minutes maximum.
yeah, yeah.
That's it.
It's
So
it's that's gotten a lot better, but also it wasn't even all that wordy for the '90s. Like go back and read anything from the '90s, it's all going to be kind of unnecessarily wordy.
a lot of exposition bubbles at the
Yeah.
top, and yeah, I know. Yeah, so that's
The only big gripe I have with Spawn for too much wordiness is the newscaster segments, and I
yeah,
think that everybody agrees with that. I
that's true. That's true.
those
Nobody
those
likes.
aren't great, but yeah.
Okay, so next question is outside of McFarlane and Capullo, who basically drew this cover, this gorgeous cover also.
Mhm.
Who do you have any favorite Spawn artists?
Um, I don't know. I don't know exactly who's drawing it right now. I guess I didn't pay enough attention to it. I could go find out, but
I think
you
Carlo
probably know.
Barberi. Because I read the singles,
Mhm.
so for my weekly comics,
The the
So
person who
Carlo,
drew the Scorched #1, which we both just read,
right?
I love that. The
Yeah,
art in that was amazing to me. So I'm honestly, it's brand new, the Scorched #1. You can all probably still get it if you go look for it right now.
right,
I love the art in that book.
right.
That besides McFarlane Capullo, that probably would be one of my favorite
I
artists. The
think
guy who's
all
drawing,
all the titles are being drawn by exceptionally fantastic artists.
yeah,
King Spawn. So the current series of Spawn, if we talk a little bit about it, because I do the current run. So you've got like, so after issue 300, because 300 was a big milestone, I
yeah.
kind of wanted to jump back in Spawn. So I started reading everything from issue 298 and 292. There is a trade paperback called Vengeance Spawn. So if you want to jump in, that's probably a good jumping on point for Spawn. So, and then I read issue 300, wherein, a lot of new characters are introduced, and you can probably follow it from there. And I think Carlo Barberi is one of the names that comes to mind, who's drawing the current Spawn series. And I think that he's doing a fantastic job after Capullo, probably.
Mhm.
And even even Todd McFarlane is doing the right thing, because he's made enough money. He's
Yeah.
delegating even the writing duties to a lot of these pro writers, so to say.
Well, um, Todd McFarlane is busy with a lot of stuff, right? Like
Correct.
he doesn't have the time to write or draw anymore.
Right.
He's managing like three different companies. He still manages all the ongoing Spawn books, right?
Right.
Like he's not writing them or drawing them, but he is managing them. The overarching plot is for the most part still his, and he has to make sure that they're up to par. And then he has McFarlane Toys, which is the #1 biggest selling action figure in the continental US right now. So yeah, he's just a bit too busy to be doing it himself. But
Absolutely. But I think all of these people whom he's delegated the reins to, I think he still manages the overarching story,
yeah,
and they're
he
also doing
does.
a fantastic job. So
They are.
yeah, so I think 2021 was a exciting year for Spawn, because they kind of expanded the Spawn universe. Now,
2021 was the year of Spawn. He declared it
abs-
himself, and
absolutely.
I think that he delivered on that promise. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. So what he does is basically after all these, the ongoing is still the ongoing. And I think I don't know. I think I heard this from McFarlane himself. He said that the Spawn issue still costs 2.99
Yeah.
in price. So it's one
Yeah.
of the cheaper books. So you don't need to spend like 5.99 or 7.99
Yeah.
ultra mega sized issues and all. It's still 2.99 the single issue. It's one of, he said that that's never going to change.
It's not. That he did say that. Yeah. He
Yeah,
he doesn't see the need to change it.
absolutely. And that's good for the fans also, for new people. I mean, new kids who want to jump in on it, they can. It's easy, it's accessible, it's
Exactly.
there,
Yeah.
and for the older readers also, you don't need to, you save money. So basically, it's economical. But yeah, and jumping on to my next question. So Spawn is a legacy character. He's got a lot of villains roster.
Yeah.
So who do you think are like the top three Spawn villains for you? I know you mentioned Billy Kincaid in the beginning of the video, so I'm sure he's definitely there somewhere. And other than that, let's say, I mean, who do you think are the top three Spawn villains for you?
Anti-Spawn is definitely one of them. I talked about it a bit before. I love the way that guy looks. I think that he's almost as cool as Spawn himself. He goes by Redeemer now, but I like his look as his original look as Anti-Spawn more than I like his look as Redeemer. And he's not a villain anymore. So yeah, Anti-Spawn is one of them.
Defamed villain, right?
Billy Kincaid also probably in there, just because he's so fucked up. He's someone who's so easy to hate, and
Right.
then you know it's also satisfying for him to get what he deserves. So Billy Kincaid probably would be another one.
Right.
And of course, this is definitely undisputed. Violator, the clown, definitely, hands down. It's not even a contest. That is the Spawn villain. Come on.
Absolutely. He's there in the movie also. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so definitely. So who is Violator? Talk a little bit about Violator.
Violator is kind of Spawn's Joker. You know what I mean? Like if Spawn was Batman, he'd be the Joker. He is a clown as well, but he's also a demon, right? He's well, shit. Wait, hold on. He's this guy.
Whoa, look at that. Look at that detail.
He's
And I
fat,
think
he's short, and he's a fucking prick. He also, that's kind of one of his forms. He also has another form which I don't have a figure of. There is one, but I don't have it. It's like a giant, like demon-esque. Well, it is a demon,
right,
but it's very unique. It kind of has like almost bug eyes.
right.
Most of you probably know what I'm talking about. It's in the animated show. It's in the comics. I'm pretty sure it's in the movie too.
It is in the movie too.
Um, but yeah, he's kind of just like Spawn's nemesis, but he's kind of over the years grown more irrelevant because Spawn has grown more powerful. But I still think that he's a staple villain, and he always will be. When Spawn first showed up on Earth, he was assigned with overseeing him and making sure that he didn't, overstep his bounds as a new Hellspawn and stuff. So, yeah, he's been there from the start as well.
Of course. So he's one of the and his dialogue is is very witty. His
Yeah,
one-liners are to die for.
yeah,
You know, and there are so many memes already existing out there.
oh yeah,
He's definitely the quintessential Spawn villain
definitely.
for me
Yeah,
too. So yeah. So that brings me to my next question. So there was a character in Spawn, a female character. There are a lot of female characters in Spawn called Angela.
yeah,
She was
Angela.
there, but she isn't there now
No,
because somebody called Neil Gaiman took the rights and
yep,
sold her to Marvel.
sure.
So how do you feel about that? That an original Spawn character no longer part of it, and she had action figures, she had a good storyline, but
Well,
now she's like
she was a big part of it when she was around.
absolutely, and now she's the sister of Thor, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, I liked Angela. She's she's a Spawn hunter, for those of you who don't know. When she was in Spawn, she was an angel who kind of had a thing for hunting down and killing spawns, and she would collect trophies and stuff. So she's definitely not someone to be trifled with. She is. I really liked her. But yeah, Neil Gaiman did create her for Spawn, so it was I guess he wanted her back, and he took it. So I mean, I wish she would have stayed in Spawn. I mean, she was a Spawn character, and she fit way better into Spawn than she does into Thor now. I mean, she's kind of like a secondary Valkyrie. I don't think that she's really all that important with Marvel, but she was important with Spawn. So, but I guess things happened. They kind of replaced her in Spawn. I can't remember off the top of my head what character they wrote to replace her. She's worse than Angela was. I liked Angela better, but yeah, the loss wasn't terrible, but I wish she could have stuck around. Yeah.
Mhm. That's cool. So yeah, I mean, it's a bummer because she was totally meant for the Spawn universe, and she fitted in quite well. And now she's someplace else where she's like just an extra.
Yeah.
So she pops up in, but then she doesn't do anything iconic as she did in her Spawn days, so to
Yeah.
say. So yeah, so I think you touched a little bit upon, you showed a couple of your Spawn collectibles. So McFarlane Toys are, like, as you mentioned, one of the biggest toy manufacturers in the world. They were
Yeah.
there in the 90s. They only did like Spawn figures, but now they're doing like DC Multiverse and a
Yeah.
lot of other stuff. So do you, of course, you own some of the Spawn figures, Sam? So,
Yeah.
but what's your
Um,
thoughts on the figures?
so I have, as I already showed off, I have Violator. This is from the most recent wave. Um, well, actually, second most recent wave of Spawn figures that came out in 2021 with the year of Spawn. He kind of revamped the line. Um, in that wave, there was this guy, the clown. Then there was the Violator, which is the demon form. It was a mega figure. Raven Spawn, which I also have. It's up on my shelf. And Redeemer, I also have that on my shelf, and Gunslinger, I also have. I'll show Gunslinger because he's a bit closer by. So, Gunslinger has his ongoing series right now, of course.
So for those of who you don't know, I mean, so as Todd McFarlane, basically last year he started with the Spawn universe, which is basically different versions of Spawn.
Yeah.
So he did like King Spawn, which focuses on Spawn himself.
Yeah.
Then you have the medieval Spawn. He's basically a Spawn from the Dark Ages. Probably I can show a
So
picture there.
all of these characters had been, yeah, yeah. All
Yeah,
of these characters had been created before, right? But so Medieval Spawn, I think, first appeared in like issue 12 of Spawn or something, way back in the 90s. I think Gunslinger was somewhere middle of the road, like issue like 170 or something, probably. I don't know exactly, but so all of the characters that are coming out now in Spawn's universe had already been created, but they had very short things. So I think Gunslinger, when he first showed up, it was like a 3 issue, I guess, mini inside of the ongoing title.
So Sam, these are all like different characters from different timelines who were Spawn. So just like
No, they're from the
was Spawn.
same. They're in continuity, but they came up at different times, right? So Spawn is it's kind of like a title. There have been there have been many Spawns throughout the years, right?
Right,
So medieval Spawn was a Spawn that existed in, of course, the medieval times, right? And then Gunslinger, Wild Wild West, 1800s,
right,
stuff like that. So
right,
they're essentially just other people who have carried the Spawn mantle throughout time, right, and had the powers that come with it.
right.
Uh, the main
And they all
Spawn,
have
Al
like
Simmons.
backstories, deals made with the devil, gone wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
exactly. Yeah,
And there's also She Spawn
yeah,
and Plague Spawn, who have just like, come up in the very recent series of Spawn. So yeah, so you can follow all their adventures individually, independently. Like for me, I like Jessica Priest a lot. She's Spawn. There's a nice story about her in issue 300 of where she comes from. She's like a mother and all, and and she's leading this Scorched team basically. So
Yes.
Scorched is kind of the team issue, and then you have a Gunslinger Spawn issue, and there's a King Spawn issue. Is there a medieval Spawn solo
No.
issue also?
No.
There's not.
Medieval Spawn is in. He's part of the Scorched, but he doesn't have his own series. So.
Right, right,
He did have one at one point. There was Medieval Spawn and Witchblade crossover.
right.
At one point, I have the trade for that somewhere, but that's pretty old by now. It's out of continuity. It's kind of
Right.
just a spin-off thing. I don't even know for sure if it's the same Medieval Spawn that we have going currently.
Okay.
But
Talking about continuity, there have been like alternate versions of Spawn, like
yeah,
Curse of the Spawn, this issue. It's Curse
yeah,
of, it's basically featuring Hellspawn. And there's also like these two detectives who keep on popping up in Spawn. There's also been a Sam and Twitch
Sam and Twitch
solo
that had a mini or a maxi series at one point
mini
as
or a
well. Yeah,
series, right? Because I think they were beloved characters
yeah.
from the main series, and they decided like, why not give them like a solo gig? So are those all like, can you just pick them up and read them? Like, for example, this Curse of the Spawn, like I said, this is one of my first issues, and this features like a tale which is like about Zeus and Medusa, and
Yeah.
so it takes place in a different realm,
Mhm.
and it's about gods and monsters fighting each other.
If you
So
can, if you can find the run, you
mhm,
could definitely jump in into those at number one. But to my knowledge, you can't. There's no collected editions for them. At least none that are
correct,
in print.
correct,
Unfortunately, I've looked. I haven't read any of them myself personally for that reason.
right.
But I'm really hoping that he reprints them in some kind of collected edition at one point. But
So this particular book, I would say, this is like quintessential 90s where gods and monsters are like really at it.
yeah,
There is like, so Spawn and Medusa, it's basically go on against, Zeus and Olympus, and the art is savage. So this
yeah,
is
it looks great.
quintessential.
So I do know that all of those, as mature as Spawn is by itself, all of those kind of offshoots out of continuity are worse. Those are like a full-on R-rated for most of
Absolutely.
them. Yeah,
Totally. So I'm just looking for the mature rating. I think it's probably on the inside of the book or something. I don't think so. So this is like 90s Image Comics, and probably those ratings were not there. So I don't see any rating, at least on the book itself.
yeah, but
So
it is very mature. I know that. I think Hellspawn is kind of as a bit worse, but
right,
Hellspawn is another. I think it was like 12 issues or something. It's another out of continuity miniseries.
totally, totally. So I think So from a jumping on point perspective, I think of course you can go the compendium route, which Sam just showed. You
Yeah,
can definitely. I don't know, those hardcovers are no longer available, right?
no, the hardcovers. I think some of them are, but it's incredibly shoddy. You definitely won't be able to get all of the hardcovers without paying, ridiculous prices for some of them. I
Right.
think the same goes for the Origins trades. But even if you could, those don't go all the way up to 300.
That's correct.
There's no way as of right now to get up to 300 in collected editions.
That's
I'm hoping the compendiums continue to do that until they get there. That's really my biggest hope. There's no collected edition I want more than for these compendiums to just keep getting pumped out. But yeah, jumping on, if issue one is probably my number, I would say jump on at issue one. Get the compendiums if you can, or get a trade. If you don't want to jump on at issue one, which is early '90s stuff, 1992 was when it started. Um, I know that, and you might be able to elaborate a little bit more for me, Lohit. Around issue 300, there was a issue that was an oversized issue that essentially kind of um, wrapped up the entire story of Spawn. So it was an oversized issue around issue 300, and it just kind
That
of
is, I think,
summed up.
298, issue 298, which is their part of that Vengeance trade, which I bought.
Mhm.
And that's the problem. So I never, again, the same problem as you. I could never find the collected editions for the entirety of the run.
They
So I
don't
just
have it.
picked,
They don't
I just,
exist.
exactly.
He's
And one
made
thing,
like 5 trades of kind of modern stuff. Like I know that I have another trade that's like 5 issues somewhere, like issues 260 or something.
yeah, I
Um,
found the trade for 292 to 298, and then I don't have 299, and then I just have to jump to issue 300 for the single issue when it came out.
yeah,
So it's very weirdly released, But I'm
yeah.
sure once the popularity of the character is back now, so then I'm sure McFarlane will release everything in a serialized order, hardcovers, trades, and all. I'm sure there is a plan somewhere there, but and
I think he's gonna keep sticking to the compendiums. I think
but
that's kind of the route he's
the
going. I
problem
hope
with the
so.
compendiums, at least what I have, is they don't have all the covers.
That is an issue. Yeah.
That is an issue. And second thing is I don't like it's a soft cover, so there are like 100 issues. So I read Invincible, another Image comic, very famous.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have them. Yeah.
and it kept on bending. The covers, like they have like bends very easily
Right.
formed.
So I have the Invincible compendiums too, and I'll actually just get one to do a side by side for you.
Right.
Um, so here is an Invincible compendium, and if I pull it over, you can see that it bends the spine like that much, right?
Right.
If not a bit more.
Right.
Um, on the Spawn compendium, and both of these have been read once. On the Spawn compendium, you get that. It doesn't.
Oh, cool.
So these are built a lot better than the Invincible ones, in my opinion. But yeah, they don't have the covers, unfortunately.
And the bends on the white spine is much more visible than the bends on the probably the black spine too. So
No, it just these are just the Spawn ones are just much more sturdy. They're just better
uh-huh.
put together. The binding, like the glue binding they use, it's just a lot stiffer. So
Uh-huh.
like it's not about the creases showing up, being more visible on the spine. The Spawn compendiums just don't get a crease because the
Okay.
spine doesn't even bend. It's
Right.
yeah,
That makes sense. So
you
yeah,
get
so
a
I
bit
think
more
yeah,
gutter
so
loss, but
yeah, I mean that's fine, but I think yeah, because all the Spawn covers are uber dope in my
it
opinion,
is it it
and
is a real shame about this.
yeah, so
The covers are one of like the best parts of Spawn, and those compendiums they don't have them. Unfortunately, that is a a really big shame. But
yeah, but at least you get the entire story, so that's something.
I know that there is a hardcover that it's like $25 or something that you can get that has all the covers from issues 1 to 100.
Mhm.
So those will get you all the cover. If you buy that, you'll have all the covers for the first 2 compendiums.
Is it like oversized, like a poster portfolio kind of a thing?
I think it's the same size like an omnibus. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool, man. That's nice to know. And yeah, so I think I've got two final questions for you, Sam. So first of all, I think yeah, people didn't like the movie. That's kind of known, and I think McFarlane is trying to get a new movie in development. He's got the money. He's going to like
There
do the
is
right.
one in development. Yeah, it's just kind of in development hell at the moment. Nobody knows exactly what's going on with it, but it is
Exactly.
it is being worked on by somebody somewhere.
Right. But everybody told me that the soundtrack, the album, is pretty awesome. What are your thoughts on the Spawn album?
Haven't heard it.
Oh, come on.
Sorry,
Oh,
guys.
that's
I
terrible.
haven't. I can't answer that. I haven't heard it.
Oh. So it's basically yeah, so it's a very good album. I mean, if it's more rock and metal, so if that's your thing, then
It
I would
is.
say that check it out. You
I
know.
probably will now that I know about it.
Okay. So we can't talk much about it. So
Oh, I'm
let's
sorry.
move on to my final question. So this character has survived the test of time, right?
Yeah,
So he's crossed around like 300 plus issues, and
record break. It's the longest ongoing independent comic book of all time.
absolutely. So yeah, so definitely the character is no matter what you feel about him, he's definitely there to stay. But what do you think? So where will it end? How long can it go?
It
Does
won't.
it
It won't end.
okay.
Todd McFarlane's talked about this in an interview. He says that his number one goal is for Spawn to outlive him. So what I think he's going to do is that if he dies, he'll probably leave the rights to the character to somebody he trusts and then just keep it going. He wants the character to live forever, essentially. So it probably will.
All right. So yeah, so then that means that, even your grandchildren, my grandchildren, grandchildren's grandchildren will also be able to experience this entirety in this run in its full, full galore, so to say.
I mean, hopefully, I can't tell the future. I don't know exactly what he plans to do, but it will. I know for a fact that it's not going to end while he's alive. What happens if he dies? I don't know. I mean, I hope that that's a long time away. For all you cupcakes know that I love Todd McFarlane. He's my idol. I hope he lives a very long life, but Spawn will live for at least as long as he does, and probably longer because that's what he wants to happen. So.
Yeah, that's probably true. So I think, so the legacy is, every creator, what does every creator want? The
Exactly.
legacy, his legacy to live beyond his immortal life.
Yeah.
And McFarlane is definitely, I think, not only in Spawn, but also in his company, in the toys. I think, I'm sure that he'll find somebody. He's working with Donny Cates now. He's working with so many other writers now. And I think, yeah, so probably he'll give the reins to somebody else, once he decides to settle down, which I don't know is when, because that guy just keeps on going and going and going, and he's got the energy of like 10,000 dynamos or something.
I think that he'll probably just keep doing what he's doing for as long as he's around. He
Ab-
loves what he does, so it's not. I don't think that he sees it as work anymore.
Absolutely. So I
If I
think
have
it's
to
part of
take
the
a guess.
process. So yeah, that's the reason why the quality has not gone down yet.
Yeah.
So and you just pick up a Spawn book, you just read it. Like I just picked up 318, issue number 318, and that's like a big ass Spawn war between Plague Spawn and Medieval Spawn and
Yeah.
Gunslinger Spawn and the regular Spawn, and I quite enjoyed it. So all you need to have is basically after watching this video, you just have the basic background of who Spawn is, where he comes from, and the rest of the things, I think you can just pick up a single issue, see if you like it, see if you like the artwork, see what he's about, and then just enjoy it, at the end of the
Probably
day.
most of the issues are kind of, at least in my experience, consistently good. So, I mean, you might not have all the information you need, but if you just grab whatever issue is on the shelf and you enjoy it, that's probably all the information you need to know if you want to keep going with it, right? Whether or not you enjoy whatever one issue you pick up. So,
Absolutely. So yeah, that's basically what we wanted to cover for Spawn. I hope we've answered like all of your questions. And if you have more, then please drop them to the Cupcakes Facebook group, post it on Instagram, and we've got everything. We even have a Spotify channel now. So go like, share, and subscribe onto that. Please like this video. If you have any questions or comments, please drop. What do you think of Spawn? Have you ever read Spawn? Do you have any favorite runs? Please let us know, and just start a discussion. We're all about comics, and this is a community here. It's a safe community, it's a safe space, and whatever your thoughts, please drop them to Sam, drop them to me, drop them to the other cupcakes. And yeah, so I think that's what I wanted to say. Sam, thank you for doing this. I mean, you are our resident Spawn expert. You're an expert in a lot of other things also. So yeah, if you want to hit up Spawn, Sam, please, again, he's there on the Cupcakes Facebook group. So please hit him up. And that's all for now, guys. And Spawn forever. You know. Thank you.